The divorce stamp was still drying when my ex-husband kicked open my front door with his girlfriend behind him, carrying garment bags like she had already moved in. He called me a broke kitchen rat. She laughed and told me to get out of her new master bedroom. What they did not know was simple. The house was in my name. The police were already on the way. And after 3 years of saving his life, I had finally learned how to let him lose everything. Grant Whitaker stepped over my welcome mat with Paige Collins on his arm. Smiling like a man walking into a hotel suite he had booked under someone else's card. "You're still here?" he said. "Claire. Don't make this pathetic. The divorce is done. Pack your thrift store suitcase and get out." Paige looked past me toward the stairs. She wore oversized sunglasses on top of her head and held a white garment bag like she was arriving for a photo shoot. "Oh my God," she said, laughing. She really thought she could stay. "Grant, tell your ex-maid to stop haunting the place." I sat on the living room couch, hands folded, my coat still buttoned. I did not raise my voice. I did not stand. Grant's jaw tightened. "You heard her. Move." Paige leaned closer and whispered loudly enough for the whole room to hear. "Maybe she needs a tip jar." I looked at Grant. Then I looked at the brass handle he had just forced open with the spare key I had already disabled. "Try the deed before you try the door. My name is Claire Bennett. I was married to Grant Whitaker until a county clerk in North Carolina stamped us into strangers. Grant used to call me loyal. Lauter. He called me convenient. Paige only called me that woman, as if saying my name might make her feel like a trespasser. That evening, she marched straight toward the master suite, heels clicking across the hardwood I had paid to refinish while Grant was sick. She pushed open my bedroom door and gasped with fake delight. "Bob, this room is huge. We should repaint it. Something warm. Not this sad divorce lady beige." Grant pointed at the suitcase by the hallway wall. "You already packed? Stop acting brave. You don't have the stomach for a fight. That suitcase isn't mine." He frowned. Paige appeared in the doorway holding my cashmere sweater between 2 fingers. "Then whose boring clothes are these?" she snapped. "You know what? I'll help." She dropped the sweater on the floor and dragged a drawer out of my dresser. Lipsticks. Receipts. A small jewelry box. And the pearl hairpin my mother had worn at her wedding scattered across the rug. Grant didn't flinch. "Clean that up," he said to me. "And don't make Paige uncomfortable. She's been through enough because of your drama." I almost laughed. Paige. Uncomfortable in my bedroom. While my belongings rolled under my bed, the doorbell rang. Grant's eyes flicked toward the foyer. "Who is that?" I stood slowly. "People who knock." He followed me like a storm cloud. I opened the door to 2 Raleigh police officers standing under the porch light. One was older, square-shouldered, patient. The other had a notepad ready. "Ma'am," the older officer said, "we received a trespassing complaint from this address." Grant rushed forward. "Perfect. Officers, I'm glad you're here. This woman is my ex-wife. She refuses to leave my house." The younger officer looked from Grant to me. "Whose name is on the property?" I handed over my driver's license, the recorded quitclaim deed, the divorce order, and the text message where Grant promised to "come take back what's mine." I had printed everything because rage lies. Paper doesn't. Paige stumbled into the hallway, one of my silk robes hanging open over her dress. "What is happening?" she asked. The older officer read the deed, then looked at Grant. "Mr. Quode Whitaker, this property belongs to Ms. Bennett." Grant blinked. "No, that's not right." "It is right," I said. "You signed it when you thought debt collectors were coming for you?" Paige's mouth dropped. "You gave her the house?" Grant pointed at me. "She tricked me." I held up my phone. "Would you like me to play the recording where you explain your brilliant plan?" The officers exchanged a look. Grant lowered his hand. The older officer's tone turned firm. "Miss Bennett is asking you to leave. If you refuse, you may be arrested for trespassing." Paige clutched the robe tighter. "This is insane. We have bags upstairs. Then carry them outside. I said. Grant stepped toward me. Claire. Don't do this. You owe me. For what? For everything we were. I nodded toward the open door. Everything we were just got escorted out. His face changed, then the charm dropped. The sickroom gratitude, the boardroom polish, the practiced smile he used on neighbors, all of it vanished. What remained was the man who had once thrown soup at a hospital wall because it was not salted the way he liked. You think you're something now? He hissed. You smell like grease and bleach. You'll always be the woman who scrubbed pans to keep me alive. And you'll always be the man who survived just long enough to become disposable? Pydig gasped. The younger officer told Grant to step back. He did. Because cowards know uniforms better than they know shame. A minute later, Grant and Paige stood on my front walkway with their bags tossed beside them. Paige's robe had been replaced by her wrinkled dress. Grant's shoes were untied. The neighbors across the street watched from behind curtains. Mrs. Duval next door did not bother hiding. She stood on her porch with a mug in her hand and raised her eyebrows at me. Grant tried one last time. Claire, he said. Softer now. Let's talk inside. No. After everything, because of everything. I closed the door, changed the smart lock code, and listened as Grant slammed his fist once against the frame. The officer outside said his name sharply. Grant stopped. Only then did my hands shake. Before Grant got sick, I worked in guest services for a small hotel group outside Raleigh. I knew how to smile through complaints. I knew how to fix problems before anyone admitted there was a problem. When Grant's stomach cancer diagnosis came, I quit the job that gave us health insurance, took every shift I could get in the kitchen of a crowded barbecue restaurant, and learned how much a body can carry before it breaks. Hospital bills came like weather. Deductibles. Specialist face. Medication copays. Parking receipts. I did not have the luxury of understanding every line. I just paid what I could, negotiated what I could, and worked until my fingers cracked from hot water. Grant hated the hospital. He hated the IV pump, the bland food, the smell of sanitizer, the way nurses spoke to him like he was fragile. He took that hatred and handed it to me. The broth tastes like sink water. He snapped one night, shoving the container toward me. I'll bring something else tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm sick now. A nurse stepped in. Mr. Whitaker, your wife has been here every night. Grant glared at her. Did I marry you? The nurse looked at me with pity. I hated that more than his shouting. When the scans finally came back clean, Grant cried into my shoulder. I'm alive because of you, he said. I believed him. That was my mistake. Within months, he started coming home late, smelling like expensive bourbon and perfume I didn't own. He said it was networking. Then he said it was stress. Then he stopped explaining it all. I found the motel receipt in the inside pocket of his suit jacket. I found the birthday card from Paige tucked behind his gym key tag. Her handwriting curled across the paper like a threat. When are you going to stop feeling sorry for her? That night, I did not confront him. I put everything back exactly where I found it. I had already learned one thing from hospital corridors. Panic, wastes, oxygen. Grant asked for the divorce at breakfast. Between burnt toast and black coffee, we're not good for each other anymore, he said, like he had read the sentence online. I looked at the man whose prescriptions I used to sort by color. Is there someone else? He did not even respect me enough to lie well. Don't make this ugly. Paige helped him make it ugly. She sent photos from restaurants, cropped just enough to show his watch on the table. She called from blocked numbers and breathed into the phone. Then she texted me by mistake. Or maybe not by mistake at all. You're not his wife anymore in any way that matters. I answered with nothing. That was when Grant made his biggest mistake. He thought silence meant surrender. I told him a creditor from his treatment days was threatening to come after the house. I let my voice shake. I said the old private loan I took to cover a gap in surgery bills had turned predatory. I said they might place a lien on anything tied to him. Grant's fear worked faster than his conscience. Transfer the house to you, he said. Pacing the kitchen, Temporarily. Then the house is protected. Are you sure? I asked. Yes. We divorce on paper. Move the deed. Clear this up. And figure out the rest. He signed because he thought I was still the woman who would bleed quietly to keep him warm. He did not read closely. He did not ask why my lawyer smiled with only her eyes. The deed recorded clean. The divorce finalized. Grant walked out of the courthouse and went straight to Paige. I went to the police station with my documents. That brought us back to my porch, where his fantasy ended under blue lights. For a few days, I let myself breathe. I scrubbed Paige's perfume out of my robe and still threw it away. I donated Grant's suits. I sold his golf clubs and used the money to repair the doorframe. Then I returned to the barbecue restaurant because rent-free didn't mean debt-free. And pride didn't pay the water bill. Grant found me there during the lunch rush. He shoved through the front door while servers carried trays of brisket and sweet tea. Customers turned as he shouted my name. Claire Bennett. You thief. The room froze. My boss, Donna, stepped out from behind the register. Sir. Lower your voice. Grant pointed at me. She stole my house. She used my cancer to rob me. I wiped my hands on my apron. Go outside? No. Let everybody hear what you are. Paige appeared behind him, filming with her phone. Tell them. Baba. Tell them how she pretended to be a saint. A man in a navy suit sat alone at a corner table, a plate of untouched ribs in front of him. He watched without moving. Grant kicked a chair. It slid hard into a table. A glass tipped, shattered, and a child began to cry. Dana reached for the phone. I'm calling the police. Grant lunged toward me. You ruined my life. I stepped back, but he grabbed my wrist. Before I could twist free, the man in the suit stood. He crossed the room, caught Grant's arm, and pinned it behind his back with frightening calm. Let her go, the man said. Grant yelped. Who the hell are you? Someone with witnesses? Paige stopped filming. The man leaned closer to Grant. You can walk out now, or you can stay long enough to become a police report. Grant looked around. Every customer had a phone out. Dana had the emergency dispatcher on the line. Grant dropped my wrist like it burned him. This isn't over. He spat. I held up my hand. Red where his fingers had dug in. It ended when you put your hands on me. He left with Paige chasing after him, Whisper yelling that he had embarrassed her. The man in the suit picked up his business card and handed it to me. Ethan Cole. I read the card. Cole Hospitality Group. I knew the name. Half the casual restaurants in the Carolinas served under that umbrella. He looked at my apron. The broken glass. The shaken customers. You kept your voice steady. You moved people away from the danger before you defended yourself. That matters. I just didn't want anyone hurt. That matters more. I expected him to ask for a statement. Instead, he offered me a job. Regional kitchen operations assistant. Training included. Better pay. Benefits. Clean start. I laughed once because the offer sounded too neat. Life had not been neat with me. I don't have a degree for that. I didn't ask for one. I'm not polished. You're steady. Polish can be taught. Dana wiped tears with the back of her hand and told me to take it. I did. Be honest with me. If you had proof in your hand, would you expose them or let them walk? My first month at Cole Hospitality felt like learning to breathe in a different climate. I traded fryer burns for spreadsheets, delivery schedules, menu testing, staff training, vendor calls, and meetings where no one screamed because soup was too warm. Ethan did not rescue me. He gave me a door and expected me to walk through it. I walked. The first menu project I touched was a lighter smoked chicken bowl designed for airport locations. I knew what exhausted people ordered after long shifts. I knew what nurses grabbed between rounds. I knew what families wanted when hospital cafeterias closed. I built the recipe around comfort without heaviness, flavor without guilt, and prep that would not punish the kitchen crew. The test stores sold out before dinner. Ethan called me into his office with the sales report on his desk. You understand customers because you listen before you sell? I understand tired people. I said, that is most of America. He promoted me, not in some fairy tale burst, not because he felt sorry for me, because the numbers made sense. The staff trusted me, and I solved problems before they reached the dining room. Grant, meanwhile, burned through every dollar he had. Paige wanted an apartment downtown with valet parking and rooftop cocktails. Grant could afford an extended stay motel off the interstate and store brand cereal. She called him broke. He called her ungrateful. Their fights got loud enough that motel management asked them to leave. Then Grant lost his job. A former coworker told me later that he had missed deadlines, snapped at clients, and blamed everyone else. It sounded familiar. Paige did what Paige did best. She changed the script. One evening, my phone lit up with a number I did not recognize. I ignored it. Then came a voicemail. Claire. Grant rasped. Pick up. I need help. I deleted it. Another call came. Then a text from Paige. He's sick again. If you let him die, everyone will know who you really are. I sat at my kitchen island in the small apartment Ethan's company had helped me lease near the office. My hand hovered over the screen. For a moment, I saw Grant in the hospital bed, thinner than his anger, and myself beside him with cracked hands. Then I saw Paige in my bedroom wearing my robe. I blocked the number. The next morning, they came for me in public. I arrived at headquarters to find a crowd in the lobby. Paige stood beside Grant, who sat in a wheelchair with a blanket over his knees and a portable oxygen tube under his nose. Two local gossip streamers held cameras inches from their faces. Paige saw me and raised her voice. There she is. The woman who abandoned her dying ex-husband. The lobby went silent. A streamer swung his camera toward me. Miss Bennett, is it true your ex-husband needs surgery and you refuse to help? Grant lifted a trembling hand. He was Plea. He also knew exactly where the cameras were. Claire, he said, please. We were married. I saved you from being alone. My stomach turned. Paige stepped closer. You built your whole career off the sad wife story. Now pay back the man who made you interesting. Ethan came out of the elevator. Security. Paige dropped to her knees before anyone touched her. Look at this. The rich boss protects her while a sick man begs for his life. The streamer smiled like he had smelled blood. How much does he need? $50,000? Paige cried. That is nothing to her now. The crowd murmured. Grant coughed into a napkin. A red smear appeared. Someone gasped. Paige shoved the napkin toward the camera. See, he is dying. I looked at Grant. You brought cameras to a medical emergency? He whispered. You left me no choice. No. I said. You sold your shame and called it rent? The streamer turned to his audience. She has no compassion. You all heard that. Within hours. Clips were everywhere. Restaurant executive refuses to help dying ex. From devoted wife to cold millionaire. Cancer survivor abandoned after divorce. They used old photos of me in the barbecue kitchen. Hands swollen. Hair tucked under a net. Paige narrated them like evidence. She said I nursed Grant back to health, only to throw him away once I found a richer man. The comments came fast. Heartless. Gold digger. Fake victim. Boycott Cole hospitality. Ethan wanted to issue a legal statement immediately. My attorney, Marisol Reyes, told me to wait until we could hit once and hit clean. Public outrage is a match. She said, evidence is a fire hose. I hated waiting. Grant and Paige kept posting. They filmed from a hospital room. Grant said he forgave me. Paige said she had begged me woman to woman. Then she sent a private message to my work email, wire $100,000 by Friday and we disappear. Refuse. And we bury you until your company cuts you loose. I forwarded it to Marisol. She called me 2 minutes later. Now we have them. The press conference was held in a hotel ballroom owned by Cole Hospitality. Not because I wanted drama, but because it had enough space for cameras and enough exits for security. I wore a navy suit. My hands did not shake this time. Reporters shouted before I reached the podium. Did you refuse to pay for his surgery? Did you leave him after he recovered? Are you dating your boss? Ethan stood near the wall, not beside me. This was mine to answer. I adjusted the microphone. My ex-husband is ill. That part is true. Almost everything else you have heard is not. The room quieted. I told them I had quit my job to care for Grant. I told them I worked kitchen shifts until my skin split. I told them I paid what bills I could and begged hospitals for payment plans. I did not cry. Tears would have made them comfortable. Facts made them nervous. Then Marisol played the first recording. Grant's voice filled the room. Clear and smug. She'll leave on her own if I make the house unbearable. I'm not paying her a dime. Paige and I just need the title clean. Reporters looked up. The second file was Paige. Wire $100,000 by Friday and we disappear. Then came the screenshots. The motel receipt, the affair texts, the thread about taking back the house, the lobby footage showing Paige signaling Grant to cough when the camera turned, the barbecue restaurant footage of Grant grabbing my wrist and kicking the chair. A reporter who had shouted at me earlier lowered his microphone. Marisol spoke next. We have filed complaints for extortion, defamation, harassment, and trespass. Civil action is also pending. Someone asked, Miss Bennett, do you feel any responsibility for his medical situation? I looked straight into the cameras. I was responsible for him when I was his wife. I was not responsible for funding the woman he betrayed me with, the lies they sold online, or the consequences he created after I left. Another reporter asked, would you help him if he apologized? No. The word landed harder than a speech. By evening, the internet flipped. The same channels that called me cruel now called Grant manipulative. Paige deleted posts, then claimed she had been misled. Grant released a shaky apology from his hospital bed and somehow still made himself the victim. I was under stress, he said. Claire knows I never meant to hurt her. I did not respond. Police arrested Paige at Charlotte Douglas International Airport with cash in her carry-on and a one-way ticket booked under her middle name. The cash had come from money Grant borrowed for his treatment deposit. Hospital cameras showed her taking it from the drawer beside his bed while he slept. When Grant woke and found it gone, he called me from another blocked number. She took everything. He sobbed. Claire, please. I have no one. I listened for a heartbeat. Not because I cared. Because the old version of me needed to hear the new version answer. You taught me that being needed is not the same as being loved. Then I hung up. Grant did not die that day. People like Grant rarely give the world clean endings. He was transferred to a county-supported care facility after missing treatment windows and losing the few friends who had loaned him money. His sister called me once and asked if I could at least visit. I told her, no. She said, that is cold. I said, it is closed. Paige pleaded down after months of trying to blame everyone from Grant to the streamers. She wrote me a letter from jail. Not to apologize, but to explain. She said Grant had promised her a house, a ring, a life with real status. She said I should understand how terrifying it felt to lose everything. I sent the letter to Marisol and kept living. Cole Hospitality recovered from the boycott scare so fast that the marketing team joked we should send Paige a fruit basket. We did not. The smoked chicken bowl expanded across several states. I became director of operations for new concepts, then partner in a smaller brand focused on hospital-adjacent restaurants, places where families could eat something warm after bad news. Ethan and I became close slowly, which was the only way I could trust it. He never asked me to perform gratitude. He never called my scars beautiful. He simply noticed when I was tired, respected when I said no, and never touched my life like it belonged to him. One night after a long opening in Nashville, we sat in an empty dining room while the staff finished closing. He slid a paper cup of coffee toward me. You did good today, he said. I did better than good. He smiled. You did. That was the first time I realized I no longer needed to shrink my confidence so a man could feel tall. Months later, Ethan asked if I would have dinner with him outside of work. No pressure. No secret. No power game. Just dinner. I said yes. We built something quiet before we ever let it become public. By the time he proposed, the tabloids had moved on. The lawsuits had settled. And Grant had become a sad name, people brought up only when they wanted proof that consequences can have excellent memory. Ethan proposed in my backyard, under string lights, with Mrs. Duval pretending not to watch from her porch. He did not kneel until after he asked if that would make me uncomfortable. I laughed so hard I almost cried. Yes, I said, to the question and to the knee. Our wedding was small. By choice. No gossip streamers. No dramatic ballroom. Just family who stayed. Friends who earned the title, and a barbecue buffet because I refused to pretend I came from linen napkins and champagne towers. Dana came. Marisol came. Mrs. Duval wore pearls and told everyone she had seen the whole thing coming. Before I walked down the aisle, my phone buzzed with a news alert. I did not open. Later, Dana showed me the headline quietly. Grant Whitaker had died in the care facility that morning. There was no long obituary, no heroic portrait, no mention of a devoted ex-wife, just a date, a facility name, and a note about private arrangements. I looked at the screen for a long moment. Ethan said, "Do you need a minute?" I handed the phone back. No. I already gave him years. Then I walked down the aisle. At the reception, Paige's letter sat in my attorney's file. Grant's name sat in a county record, and my old robe was long gone from the trash pickup that took it away. I danced barefoot on the grass with my husband, while the people who loved me clapped off beat. Later, when the music softened, Ethan leaned close. "Are you happy?" I looked across the yard. Dana was laughing with Marisol. Mrs. Duval was stealing extra brisket for later. The house behind us was mine because I had protected it. The life ahead was mine because I had stopped apologizing for surviving. Yes, I said, and I am not asking anyone for permission. That is the part people miss when they tell stories about revenge. They think revenge is screaming, breaking things, chasing people into the street. Sometimes it is paperwork filed correctly. Sometimes it is a locked door. Sometimes it is letting the person who called you heartless discover that your heart is simply no longer available to them. Grant wanted me ashamed of the years I spent saving him. I am not. Those years proved I could endure more than he ever deserved. Paige wanted me humiliated by the kitchen that kept us alive. I am not. That kitchen taught me timing, heat, pressure, and the clean sound of a blade coming down exactly where it should. So when they came for my house, I used the deed. When they came for my reputation, I used the truth. When they came for my mercy, I used the word no. And now I want to ask you something, because I know people will argue about this. If your ex betrayed you, tried to steal your home, humiliated you online, and then begged for your money when the lies collapsed, would you have helped him? Or would you have closed the door like I did?